Sveiki visi. Architektūros kokybės vystymo asociacija baigė nuotolinių paskaitų ciklą Utopija ir Eksperimentas architektūroje, kurį iš dalies finansavo Lietuvos kultūros taryba. Ciklas organizuotas kartu su partneriais žurnalu Statyba ir architektūra ir jų portalu sa.lt bei Vilniaus dailės akademijos Vilniaus fakulteto architektūros katedra. Ši paskaita vyks anglų kalba, todėl aš tęsiau angliškai. So, I'm switching to English. Hello everyone, and you, Miodrag. Let me introduce. Miodrag Kučo is an architect, urban planner, disciplinary art creator, and most important in our case, an urban researcher. His lecture, Experimenting with Public Urban Furniture, is based on Miodrag's experiences and insights he has gained with colleagues during the 3 years long project Hacking Urban Furniture. The project investigates the history, present, and future of the urban furniture in collaboration with artists, urban explorers, administrators, politicians, activists, and researchers, in order to open up new horizons for the spatial public service design in the city. Miodrag himself took the lead in the case study Urban Furniture as Social-Cultural Infrastructure. So, please, Miodrag, share your knowledge in the field, and the floor is yours.
Words. I just want to check if everybody sees the screen. Just say this, so everything's fine. Good. Good. Thanks, Aida, for invitation. It's my pleasure always to be back to Vilnius, the city I visit many times, and just have to say a couple of words, maybe about my connection to Vilnius. You know, I have been teaching as a guest lecturer in mostly at the European Humanity University, but I visit also Technical and Academy of Art and have many good friends in Vilnius, and mostly working with the so-called Laboratory of Critical Urbanism. And currently we have also some project in Visaginas, or Visaginas, how you like to say. And maybe next time we talk about this, but tonight I will try to talk about urban furniture and try to see urban furniture beyond its architectural or design appearance in the city and see the social-political context and kind of multi-layered semiotics around the urban furniture. I've been working in an institution called ZKU, Center for Arts and Urbanistic, most of my time, although I'm kind of independent researcher, an artist. I'm trained as an architect and urban planner, but I've been working in the field of culture and art for many years. And I'm running so-called department, or let's say research line that I call critical urban pedagogy, which mostly deal with the fact that we are in need to translate very complicated things happening around architecture. And you told me that most of my audience tonight are architects, as I understood.
But as well designers,
as well
and students,
okay.
And it's very
super, more diverse, better. And let's say for common people and citizens, some things that we usually talk in our daily life is very cryptic. But urban furniture is something that everybody can refer to, sit in, have opinion. So it's very, touching all our life. So let me just say, I'll put it full screen. Yeah. So this research was kind of longer and like an old desire. We already artistically were working on this topic for some years as an action research. So checking it, informing the local communities, and it was the moment where we decided maybe our Eurocentric or Berlin-based view on furniture should be broadened by a rather global view, and we should see also what's happening in India, what's happening in Iran, what's happening in Russia, what's happening in USA in concern, and how people understand that all urban furniture, you know. And we find out that there are very many different understanding of and policies around. So this was also very transdisciplinary research involving sociologists, artists, jurisdictional people, authorities of the city, local communities around our building, but also our big network of ZCO artists all around the globe. And what we kind of want to achieve is this kind of collective knowledge about this contested field, because we felt it is contested. Yeah. I just want to give you a couple of, because everybody asks me, hey, what is this hacking? You know, what are you hacking? You know, I was like, yeah, maybe it's sometimes just experiment or need, like in this case of old people interested to play a card together, and they just need a small, you know, twist in maybe sometimes is trying to find a form that fits, you know, because cigarettes needs to be in the, you know, metal box, you know, because of fire, and some kind of social patterns beside. So this kind of situation I see every day in every city, you know. This is Porto, this is Kiev, this is small city on the pre-border between Colombia, Peru, and Brazil, where somebody just decided to create its own urban furniture, beautiful, colorful, in front of his shop, you know. But we realized the things are much more complex. There is many actors involved in the formation of the furniture. So actually, we have to give a structure to the whole research and a book at the end that exists. And this starts with the so-called state of the art, which gives historical view on especially on the public-private partnerships. Then we have the kind of chapter, or let's say research cluster challenging the normative, where we deal with actually with the urban furniture as a node of predefined social norms in between us. For example, our bodily appearance, you know, how big is the bench or not. Then furnishing the public space was also interesting part, where we talk about actually the spatiality and representation. You know, space become important. Then the acting citizens, where the citizens, and so on, just to understand that we were kind of changing from, let's say, very analytical part into action that happened at the end. And then we also build the prototypes and case studies, so we were able to follow through the time what is happening with our intervention, to have feedback, to have a actually to live with the project together, which is usually quite complex and usually not part of the funding of the projects to be some kind of we say begleiter, missing sometimes the English word for this, somebody who is, you know, care of a project, yeah, to be part of it, you know, not just to design and go to the next project. This is just for you to understand some kind of matrix that was driving our research. We use some kind of iconic like images and verbs, you know, that were actually the verbs of social practice, what one can do or should do or could do in order to address this topic. And also this matrix also shows a bit of the diversity of topics. And I want just to say that this was framing our competitions, urban tour research. So we have a really different audiences constantly. Yeah. Some of the guiding questions, you have them on the screen. I would like just very briefly to read them, and also to see if this at least provoke a bit of a thoughts. Can artists, activists, and designers develop street furniture, which creates new functional relations and functionality, especially the existing business models? So talking about business models, which are nowadays mostly turning around advertisement. Then the second one, can public-private partnership become communal collective corporations, which mostly deal with the topic of social benefits of these deals the city is doing for us. You know, like always this question of community, but what we have from your interventions, and then maybe more about context, like how the street furniture can be individual or local, adapted, maintained by communities aesthetically and also functionally and also fiscally, you know, how we can maybe earn money by running our own billboard of our non-profit organization in the neighborhood. Yeah. So these are the important questions. And in this first part of research, where we also commissioned some people around, this was a work, for example, of Joan Paulzang, there's a French researcher and architect, and she actually dig into the pioneers of public-private partnership, which also she claimed that the public-private partnership, how we know it, actually was born around the urban furniture in France. And this in the moment where bus station became the place for advertisement. You know, this was the first contract in between cities and a company called Je sais de quoi, the global leader, also the one that in Vilnius run the stuff and then globally. So they have a sister company in Berlin that's called Val AG. And what is interesting that they were in that time already understanding that bus stations are not just functional object to protect us from the rain when we are waiting for the bus. Yeah? And what is very interesting in this photo, I always like to say this, in the middle of the France, we have a French car parked early, we have a Czech car passing by, and we have a German car being advertised. So quite confusing image, but actually showing the beauty of cities in 70s, I assume. 80s. In the state of the art, we also realized that this field is very contested, mostly because advertisement become a central component of the urban furniture. You know, here in a more kind of expressive way. But whole articles and research of, for example, Sabine Kniebein talks about attention economy, for example, which was an important part already in the 90s, and nowadays with the digitalization of advertisement is fully occupying the unconscious part of our brain. And nowadays in the companies like Je sais de quoi, most of the or big part of people are actually cognitive scientists, not architects and designers. You know, so actually how you sell something and where, in which context, becomes very important. We have also to invite some kind of younger and motivated students. This interesting master thesis of Martin Binder, young designer that actually was trying to turn the statistics or researches that are not coming in the normal statistics that we usually are used to, and turn them into iconic comments on urban discrimination. So he was only working with discrimination. So people that likes to be naked in Germany, they were also saying, we also want to be part of the public space. Why smokers has their corners in the train stations and we don't have? Then the left example was about this, instead of having Coca-Cola, to have a pepper spray to protect yourself from the possible attackers in the public space. So he was actually checking the official documents of the kind of researches around discrimination and turning the people's thoughts in the new urban furniture and imagining the new urban functions. So at the end, it was like a huge catalog of very nice images for exhibition, at least. Then we have also some historical researches. This is the Ringstrasse in Vienna, one of the first streets that actually very clearly define the spatial relations through the furniture. You know, where is the toilet, distance between lamps, all this one photo we can just talk 1 hour about this. You know, how did use the public furniture to define the social spatial relation and public order at the end. Yeah. But then we say, okay, yes, we have human acting and being always part of the furniture. It's not possible to connect these two entities. And this, for example, project of Christian Hansucher was not only the small interventions. We are talking about pre-COVID time. This is not some COVID joke. He actually made this plastic bubble as an answer to all of us being in some sort of digital bubble. And this guy inside was an actor that 30 days appear in the park on the different benches. So it became a kind of sociological research. And he was writing what people asking, why they are coming, the whole discussion. It's a kind of diary that was produced from the conversation. So he became furniture and researcher in the same moment. So what he gave us at the end was not only a bunch of paper, it was actually something what we call today citizen science, like the qualitative data that we can turn now into concepts or design. Yeah. Then the Kunstrepublik, actually the artistic collective around ZKU, was also working a lot on the so-called extension of the toilets. And I would like just to give a bit of bigger context why this was important topic for us, not just architecturally less relevant, but economical model beside the toilets was run by the company called Val AG, which is a sister company of this big je sais quoi advertisement monopolist. And the main and non-transparent contract with the city of Berlin was that they have a professional expertise of running the semi-automatized, robotized public toilets, but for the full rights of advertisement. So nobody knew how much money they were earning, and we are talking about millions or millions per month, not per year. And actually, this was not possible due to the kind of political protection of this company till the moment in Berlin, in the local election, some kind of new coalition was forming between Social Democrats, Green Party, and Left Party, which ask, hey, why we are not earning money? Why private company can maybe run the toilets, because maybe they have this expertise, but why they should be the owner of the whole advertisement space in Berlin, And then we start to actually look like what is happening on the more broader scale, and the whole movement was created around the topic of where are the toilets, who runs them, how much money is produced there. So public toilet become a really public discourse. People with different disabilities become a main driving force and main conservative force in the protecting the company. There was kind of giving better access, and they were afraid how it was before. It's going to be bad. State is not in charge of running anything. They cannot fix their own, running systems. Not to think about this advanced technology of future toilet, tourists. Become a really big topic. And actually, what's happened, and I think we also contribute a bit to this, was that the contract with Val was split in two. So the expertise in running toilets was split from advertisement, and now city is earning money from advertisement and also has an influence what goes on advertising, because they can advertise the non-profit content, or advertisement can be contextualized in the areas. They're not just touristic areas. Yeah. So big topic, and where I want to lead is that design, this is also maybe more interesting for architects, become kind of, we start to think which function one needs to put on top of toilet that makes sense. Is it a small Japanese restaurant, or the radio station, or some kind of cinematic club, or tourist office? And then we came out on many different concepts and saying, okay, in this part of the city where there is a constant problem of homeless people around the particular S-Bahn station, maybe we need function that help those people. We don't need restaurant, or we don't need a toilet. So we start to think how this public toilets can be upgraded and contextualized in a particular problems. Maybe in the neighborhood something else is needed. Yeah. So we have just kind of a lot of like a diversity we reached through design, which was not part of some kind of diversity of call for, let's say, designs, but context was defining the diversity. And at the end, when this all kind of design proposals were put together, we came out with a kind of managerial model for extension, because design and build, we could do this, but we just came with a concrete proposal that land under the toilet stays in the city's ownership, but they define the kind of planning, jurisdictional planning frames, then some kind of community, local or not local, form some kind of small development, let's say cooperative, that in the same moment profit from the advertisement and also give some kind of function that is more of commoning the function, let's say. And also this system was also discussed, and we are currently working on some prototypes that city can test in at least 5 places to see if this really runs how we were thinking. Yeah. So this, I think, it's explaining maybe the way how we were working, starting from the, let's say, challenge, going into the maybe some innovative way how to deal with this challenge, then trying to see what design can do there, or architecture, and then at the end trying to find the economical system for that. And also to, in many loops, to discuss this with the communities that will be affected, let's say. Another maybe example, and I want to share with you, is this small park or public space that was become in last year. It's very close to a place where we work, conflicting area, because it was close to traditional place where the heroin addicts are hanging from 80s, and due to the conflict with the neighbors, the angry neighbors just dismantled the public furniture, and they were saying, okay, no furniture, no junkies anymore, classical, not in my backyard approach. And we were saying, hey, wait, maybe, if you treat them as people in need, or, and there was also dog owners, and there was a kind of interesting conflict. And we said, okay, that's the place we have to work, not with the intervention or with the one-off dialogue. We have to constantly work also with authorities, with the school that is beside, with the neighborhood. And then everything starts with some kind of triggering the alternative planning process, which this area was on the map just like some kind of green square, and nobody was in charge. I mean, the greenery company, yes, but they didn't even cut the grass, because it was stigmatized place where junkies are hanging, and they should be there because it's historically their place. But neighbors somehow want also to enjoy, because its park is very cute, and then we will start to redefine the care, because what means care, so big questions, is it care, just care of a bench, or is it care of rubbish, or is it care of celebrating birthday there? And then they started with the work of artist Marco Samba and Conrad Brown, and this was really like this, like every afternoon, like a tea, and who comes can kind of get involved. But the whole idea was actually to slightly work on a political education. When I say political education, means understanding the planning, understanding why greenery company is not cutting something, maybe they don't have enough workers, trying to understand why somebody is heroin addict, trying to understand generational conflicts, trying to understand infrastructural needs, lack of funding, all this stuff, And then we say, yes, let's try to, that every group, and there was many of them looping, different social groups, that maybe try to express themselves through maybe one object, it can be very small, like maybe some prostheses for playing cards, or some movable kind of furniture. So this was coming. Then architects were helping, of course, to design this. But there was actually the small fair of this prothetic architecture all around this, and it was very nice to see the whole summer turning into some kind of open air museum of participation, if I can call it like this. And I want to say all this was built one-to-one prototype, and this become these urban props, how they call them. They by use become, success or not. They were recycled, and for example, on the left side, this was broken in 2 weeks, and this on the right, these stairs, we still have them in sa.lt and use them for some discussion, because when 5 of them come, they create a nice circle, And then this was all built in the space with some kind of participation that was designed and staged somehow and was running through the whole summer. But it was activating this, what I call socio-political imagination, like going beyond the planning and beautification and removing the social group that is unwanted, mostly like opening corridors of imagining. And this was actually the call attention of authorities. They were anyway thinking to redefine a much bigger area, which this plot is just a small part. And then they invite us to be part of so-called Bremerstrasse development, like a development of one urban, let's say, area around. Then we came, and they realized that we know about space much more than themselves, and that we have also some expertise and around us architects and planners. And then this become interesting. That so now comes the dramatic shift point. That our group that is called Reunion, that's like because it's Union Square. Actually, one member of like Korean community that around is very active and has its small organization. They say, okay, this space is now like interesting. We want to put our statue, which is very interesting monument, traveling monument of a very sad story of victims, female victims of sexual slavery during the Second World War. And the topic that was not was for a long time put under the carpet, but actually it's a sculpture where you can sit beside this young lady and kind of have some kind of empathic contemplation moment. And so it's a kind of active sculpture, but this explodes the Japanese government, which was kind of felt offended there, make a huge international scandal that went to the really higher possible diplomatic level, And then, you can imagine from higher level into the city, into neighborhood, there was really the whole mass. CNN was there, national TV of Korea. I mean, the whole once totally forgotten area of Moabit in Berlin became the center of the media attention, because this conflict was actually, it was a question: is it Berlin place for this conflict to appear, and what is the urban furniture doing there? But of course, this mobilized the local community, and the locals. I mean, not just the Korean community, but all locals around. They say, no, this is our space, and statue stays, and if you come to remove it, we will with our bodies. It was really like tensional, and this leads to the more and more media attention, and now we realized that there was actually a lot of kind of diverse permission misunderstanding. Who in Germany can give a permission for what, and this was also a bit put clear on the table to the media, especially. People realize, which kind of decision making is actually around so small objects, And then, recently was just receiving yesterday from Korean national channel number 1. It was our area and news. It was a small reportage, and I want just to say, sometimes very small acts of and local action can become a multiscalar problem. Statue stays. This is the last news for at least for 2-3 years, and we'll see. The fight is now to remove, to reconstruct the whole area around the statue, which is actually has a lot of potential. And then only by that, I think the statue could become a part of a wider design. Then we were also in the what we call acting citizenship. We were doing a lot of action where public furniture is very more of a metaphorical, metaphysical level. So this is the public school, the reading group of people, being that imaginal or real table, as a furniture that unites and separates us somehow. And he formed a reading group around this table that was traveling through the city and reading exclusively texts of Hannah Arendt. And this becomes some kind of collective inquiry and a learning process in specific context. I think here I just wanted to say how diversity of the spaces and how this table and group of that reads on every space in every space different texts was actually the redefining the urban furniture as a metaphor for something much more complex. So we have readings in unemployment office, in the refugee center, in the public part, in the private space, in the flat of somebody. So it was really interesting research on its own, and this is what we call situated knowledge a bit. Then we realized that maybe giving ownership to people that co-create and co-maintain the furniture is actually the core, the DNA of our experiment. And then we start a bit more to work with the diverse communities, and this is the work of architectural collective Unschichten from Stuttgart. They actually focused on the bus station, and actually their claim was that they're all not boring just visually, they're boring because dramaturgy of bus going from one station to another is always the same. Like there is no excitement by seeing people waiting under some shelf. And their idea was that every station should become like a scene of a theater somehow. You come out of the bus and then you get inspired. And this what's happening in this station should be contextualized, should be some people running it. So here there was a community around bike repairing, and they were just waiting for you to go out of the bike and to kind of dismantle this monocultural spatial concepts. They also were kind of staging also the situation to inspire people and to create this kind of thematic paths in collaboration with neighbors. So it was all about staging, but also what I want to call the showing a possible worlds. That the ones that won't happen, but confusing the users a bit. Can one horse be part of a bus station, and if yes, how? And it was not just kind of confusing the public, but it was confusing also the bookkeeper of the ZKU, and she asked me once why I submit the invoice on which it said 2 horses rented for 2 hours. She simply could not believe that we were, like as a part of a project renting horses. She was thinking there's something, wrong there. So I think this was also showing a bit of approach and this kind of enjoyment and bits inside the whole. But then we also say, okay, maybe Berlin is a bit too used to art and stuff. Let's go in the places where public furniture is a bit more contested, and this is a work of Anton Valkovsky, the Russian art curator, and he was observing so-called zhek art. Zheks are those, I think also you have them in Vilnius as a Soviet heritage or organizational units for your communal space around mostly the prefabricated parts of the city. And in the lack of resources, people were kind of building from tires or whatever, some kind of crazy worlds like this beautiful, I don't know what is this even, some kind of animal from dinosaurs maybe. But I'm also imagined if kid fall from this dinosaurus head down, it will be some trouble also. So he was also researching how the everything beyond this artistic expression and our kind of Eurocentric view on, hey, how crazy is this? We were also researching this liability question, you know, like what really happened if somebody fall from this, and who is in charge of this? Designer, housing estate, or kid itself, or parents, you know? And this was really interesting, bringing us back where this in Germany is very, very regulated. That's why sometimes this could be for experiment quite complicated. Coming back to our idea of experimentation, you know, the limits of experimentation, I would say. And then when we say, okay, let's maybe through this intervention also have some claims, you know. So this is the work of Zonda. It's an artistic duo that actually we're working on temporary occupations and also bringing some unusual claims and questions. This is actually in the middle of these two scooters for rent. Is a huge amount of cut onion, you know, and police came, like, because idea was that this smells so, with these ventilators, it smells so hard that the whole street smells on onion, kind of unusual smell for outside. And this looks like this when they were cutting, you know, and they used this kind of ridiculizing this immobility, so putting the rented scooters to run to the ventilators that will actually spread the onion. So it's kind of somebody's cooking in the middle of the street. And that was actually invitation for public to say, okay, these all scooters, you know, we have them all in the city. What is their role? You know, so there was always this kind of hidden agenda that we were doing. And are they part of urban furniture or not? These scooters, you know, like are they, because they are now irregularly parked all around, and we have already a lot of conflicts appearing from this now in Berlin. And actually we have to learn what is the space for them, both for these rented motorbikes and for the, you know, how you call them, trottinette ones, you know, that ones that you are just pulling with a small battery. So, you know, opening the questions through interventions and not having answers, also good. You know, answer he was, yeah, there is an unregulated field because the new elements are coming into the public life, and we still have to learn how to deal with them. Same as kids having now the very strong speakers in the public transportation. There is no, in Germany, still law that forbids this or say at this level of music is allowed or not. It's really a social context that defines the what is, you know, forbidden or not. So this is somewhere where we were intervening a lot and enjoying actually doing this. Another examples I want to say, if there is a questions, because Zoom is quite complicated for posing questions, please write in the chat, you know, if something came to your mind or you have some kind of idea or clarification, and then we'll see it at the end in the chat. Maybe I'll try to answer. Yeah. This is the work of Benoit Malbrou, this Canadian artist that actually, this example I want to show as something that turns from the idea competition. He was the winner of one competition we organized, and then actually through this kind of push of and kind of support of us also, we did not have a money for let's say making it, but the idea was really good. And the idea is very simple. He takes the old speakers people throw on the street or give it to the kind of recycling company, and he put them all together and creates a kind of sound arena made of speakers in which you can plug very easily and play as a kind of both stage and the sound system. So the idea is quite simple, technically, I would say, but socially quite complicated, you know, like who is in charge to sit on it, who gives permission, who runs it, who cleans it, vandalism, you know. So this all question become more interesting than the concerts happening there. And this is something that he found some funding in a very, very complicated and tricky area in Berlin to do this. I was also a bit skeptical, how it's gonna work there. And then actually the local gangs, they were around, you know, they were like, oh, interesting, like we want us to be part of, you know, and so it was not clear how. Just want to show you a couple of images of implementation of it. It was not so, it always looks nice when you see it like this, you know, like, and everybody happy playing music, but, you know, at the end it's like, you know, building it modular, transporting it, making it possible to fit into the track, protection, fire protection, maintenance, and so on, but it was something that was wasted. So he said, if somebody breaks something, I just put a new speaker. You know, he has very simple answers, and the authorities face a very complicated problem. So what if somebody put fire? He said, yeah, this can happen also everywhere in the public bus, you know, why we should happen here. But this care was a problem. And then actually what's happened, actually the local, this is like a backstage, you know, like let's say, locals say, okay, we also want to, you know, not just make graffiti, we want to hang out, and we also want to mic from time to time. We also want to say the world, hey, you are not taking care of us. It was a kind of small place where like a speaker's corner, which he did not plan. It was mostly around the music, but actually this ownership, what I want to say, it becomes, or taking ownership in the project become a very important part of the furniture. You know, like involving yourself on a very direct way. Say, okay, I'll make coffee today for everybody. And it was really great to see there somebody coming from home, from second floor, and bringing coffee to everybody. You know, so it becomes some kind of not just arena, it becomes the polis, let's say, in its own most beautiful sense of the world. And this care of marginalized, mostly youth, that you know, was always treated around this corner as some kind of, you know, gangsters, they become, you know, the most prominent audience. This is the work of Raumlabor, which researched also before this has been built as an object, research so-called bollard. Those are these metal things we all hate in the city that separate or protect us from the cars. And they were just thinking, okay, how this can become a space of encounter instead of separation, you know, to play with this functional shift. So they actually build different concepts and a network of people and these artifacts. And at the end, we realize, okay, let's just make one of them. Let's make it in bronze. You know, let's make it properly, and let's make really not that it looks like a grill. Let's grill on it. You know, like, so we actually move this polar that on the end, on the top has a barbecue, and we were just going into city as a barbecuing group till police comes, and so we check it on many occasions, and it was very interesting to have a conversation. What is legal? What is illegal? What is legitimized? What is where is the border of joke and where's security? And yeah, this is a beautiful German word, Haftung, which is in English liability. Liability becomes a big issue here. So I just want to also show, to explain a bit also that we went also into the schools. You know, this is the cooperation with the University of Applied Science in Wildhaus, a small place beside Berlin, and we gave task to the students, young students of studies of technology and mechanical engineering, to think how urban furniture can have this kind of let's say dynamic mechanotronic properties. And they mostly were impressed by the idea of how vandalism and like kinetic energy can be transferred into something positive for the furniture. So they decide, for example, the waste basket that actually you press and then compress the waste amount. Then this bus station in which you can, punch bus station like in the some circus and produce a light. And so they were basically building a prototype, but it was very interesting that in the end, for our exhibition, they brought all these small models. They were really working. I was impressed that this really was translated into 1 to 10 scale, So they were all around in one container, and it was really nice to hang with these youngsters, I would say. And for them, it was open the corridor. They came to art exhibition, and they didn't know what to think about, what is this all about? And yeah, it was a nice experience. And maybe about a real kind of prototype. This is also work of Kunstrepublik of what you see now, a lot of police, why these guys are running with police. Actually, there was the only way to actually go on the street on this sort of protest. There was a stage, but we hijacked the idea of a tourist bus, the one that brings tourists through Berlin and say, this is beautiful building from this and this year. And we actually tried to think what could be the new ways of kind of collective forms of protest. This looks like this inside, and ask all participants to jump in to pull a bit, so the horsepower was changing in between, let's say 8 and 10 horsepower, and then inside was also radio moderator. So this bus kind of has a sound effect, and it was inviting people to join. But what was actually the trick? It was actually the narrative was that we were visiting spaces that were in danger of being losing, like cultural spaces that losing their space because of speculation in real estate market, or simply new investors coming and destroying the previous building, and yeah, this kind of pressure in Berlin that housing now become the only architecture was kind of around. And with us walked also some local politicians, and it was very interesting. It was a kind of mobile arena and on every space, you have on the bus up here the next, let's say, stop. The other crew was waiting for us, and there was always some small discussion or art performance or micro concerts. So this becomes some kind of a narrative, building the narrative and dramaturgy of a protest. Another thing that we were doing in front of our building was this, we had some couple of cars from some other exhibitions. So this is not somebody's car, this is all fake. Just so actually this stage to go, the also project of Kunstrepublik, was actually asking the question why our cars, if they are already parked 23 hours and being used 1 hour, why they should not become something. It was a bit political claim, not just saying cars are not good, they're polluting, like let's do something with them. So this car actually, when you lift it up, gives you enough energy in its own free, let's say free drop down, gives enough energy for somebody to be on the stage, like our colleague Philip, and have a small talk about, but you have only 6 to 7 minutes, because this is the energy the car produced by falling down. And this car, actually, you always need the crew, it's a collective action. You need somebody to pull the car up, which will then slowly go down, and in this kind of kinetic energy produce enough for sound and light. And then we experiment with this stage and for some moments, and people then get the idea, it's not about stage, it's about this car being, maybe future also waste, and this car actually went to the in the being pressed at the end and become some kind of wasted metal box, so we were playing a bit with this what powers the culture. Also, can car powers the culture, so question mark. What I was particularly working with were those case studies. Case studies, difference between prototypes and case studies, that case studies were really contextualized in the, let's say, real space with the real people and through the time of, let's say, 2 years. So this is the example of Belgrade, and we were working with a project called Infrastructures of Hope. We were working with the marginal, mostly Roma social group in the periphery of Belgrade, close to the airport, so kind of district where nobody goes, in the last station of the one and only bus line. And interesting what we found there with the local, first we have to find a partner, and there was a local group, Shkogra, that was already working mostly like a social work with the kids that has a lot of energy and no public spaces and no any playgrounds or nothing. They found out that let's say the garden of the one and only public school is actually the only public space. Everything outside is either occupied or illegally built or dangerous for kids to play. And then they say, okay, we want to build some sort of classroom outside, and we want to run it. This was the first desire, but this was all built on the small steps of first talking about values, like which values for kids should be transferred into program of this stage, because it was very easy to build a stage. This we could do, or we can have a participatory design to build about which kind of values, why we should do this, for whom, and what does it mean? Those are the questions we were asking. And then I was bringing some people from Germany to that to just bring one of the architect Konrad Braun, where we, with the different classrooms, design the system in which every class has its own element, being this part of the stage that is wall, or we have something called frame, stair, box. So every classroom has its one kind of element, and there's the central stage, and only by them bringing the elements together, they can create specific programmatic format. So, for example, if you want an exhibition, then this and this classroom has to build the wall, this classroom has to organize table around which is happening. So quite complex, but at the end actually worked out, because everybody has a micro responsibility and learn how collectivity works, and learning with 7, 8 how collectivity works, you might learn also how urbanism is working later, how your claims in the big city. So if you learn how to collaborate maybe on the small scale, it was also pedagogical project, I want to say, and through the time. And this stage now exists. Every spring is newly painted. Teachers and library ladies, they're particularly interested in doing a lot of classes outside. Now with the COVID, was the perfect place for working at all. So this was actually the project we start actually, and then it's just now this infrastructure that was built, and not only physical infrastructure, but the logic of how to program it actually is now happening another 2-3 years for sure, and has a very small funding, public funding actually from some small fund, and we are just out, and we gave the ball to the local NGO to deal with the school, which they were anyway doing. And parallel to that, we did the similar thing in our park. So we were trying to understand how the public space around the institution. In Belgrade, this was the elementary school. In Berlin, this was our artistic residency where we work. Actually, how the, let's say, marginal social groups can build a relation because of the fact that there is a spatial intervention, and this is the project done by, also was part of the winner of the competition from Adam Page and Eva Hertz. They recycle one old project. This is a container that kind of opens up as an accordion and form very interesting inner space. And we have a lot of youngsters. They were hanging on our building, and the surrounding, because we are just artists, we are tolerant. You can smoke there, you can drink beer, everything is okay till you have some kind of till you respect others. And then through the many talks, we find out that they would like to not just have a space where they are somebody young. They want to be relevant. They are kind of want to be VIP. We call it. So it's okay. You want to be VIP, then you have a VIP space. You are exclusively here. You can smoke there because there is no roof. You can watch Netflix, everything. We gave them internet, football. This is the day when they watch football. And it was very interesting that they kind of become owners of that space without talking anymore about maintenance or something. They, it's their place. If it's dirty for you. If it's okay, or conflicts has to be resolved in between you. Not social workers should work for you being paid, I don't know, 15 euro per hour. So they have also, of course, some older guys, and they have to learn how to build the respect. And this was very interesting. Box is still there, and it's even now in winter they're hanging around. But actually was set of the workshops that the artist Adam Page has to work with them to transfer this kind of modes of expression. This was, for example, on the left side, the whole visual language they use. I was also learning. It was almost like another language, noveling. So it basically become for them more relevant than the youth center. There is usually controlled this amount of hours you can be on internet, you can play billiard, only that. So it's for them concept of youth center, how it was imagined in Germany 60s, 70s, doesn't work anymore. They don't go there. It's an obsolete social infrastructure for them. This is the new. So this actually, what I call urban furniture that speaks, is actually constantly reshaping its envelope and content depending on the social encounter. If it's summer, yeah, it's okay to have a barbecue, and although it's illegal, and concerts. And now when we have also our artistic program, sometimes we invite them to be part of a so-called open house. So they also present their videos, trash videos with a mobile phone. Also good. They are part of our kind of social ecosystem of the park. And then they felt, okay, it's also our space. That's why the social control become much better. Before we had too much noise during the night. Now they understood that somebody lives there. They can talk with artists. They're learning English. So a lot of interesting small stuff that are actually, we are replacing the state in this work. And then all this at the end was actually, all these projects I was telling you were built in a one-to-one scale inside our building, and put in some kind of context. So all this, what you see from bus station, here you see this, for example, the stairs from one project. This is the extension of the toilet. So we create the whole kind of parody of the urban furniture fairs that are sometimes happening, where they're showing like what is a new achievement. We show achievement of our project. It was really well visited exhibition because it has also program inside. So every night was some either discussion or participants that were involved in some projects or reading groups. So we really made a dance program. Or if nothing, you can just pull the car up and sing on the stage. So it was actually looping this knowledge and documenting and archiving this process. And then came idea, okay, maybe even let's go classic and also make a book. But it was materially still not even research in the drive. I don't know what to do with 27 videos. Maybe I should make a separate a YouTube channel out of this or something like this. But what I want to say is like this exhibition became rather the laboratory and not a place where the project is frozen and results are shown, but most of it was the end of something and actually the beginning of something. And we actually carry on working with many of these micro projects under different names, under different funding schemes. So the project in general is served as more of understanding the base and getting the people understanding how complex could be everything what is put in a public space, being this furniture or something else. And this was the, let's say, the end, which actually has another end that I want to show, just 2 slides more. Last portion of concentration. For the ones they're sleeping, wake up, soon is coming the discussion. It's a group it's called Berlin Werbefrei, that is fighting for Berlin advertisement-free city. And it's a civil society group, which has also architects and lawyers and very interesting people. And they actually also as a part of our kind of consortiums, you know, they collect 2 years before enough signatures to, I think, 175,000, something like this, to put in question general advertisement, not just around the topic of urban furniture, but like visual pollution. Billboards, they're digital now and occupying the huge portions of facades, and so they just went far beyond the furniture. And this is the moment of them submitting in the court the signatures, and as an activist group, and they got some jurisdictional support. And of course, on the first instances, the city reject their proposal. Now I think the process is still going on. So what I want to say is jurisdictional support, because this field is not only complex, it's full of lobbyists, and is a lot of money is around. So, you know, like you can imagine how in one capital city of 3.7 million inhabitants and 12 million tourists, which role plays advertisement, you know. And there is some group wants to say there is no actually they don't say there is no advertisement, but it has to be much more regulated, you know. No big Mercedes sign on the top of the building. Why we need this? You know, you won't sell more cars. It's some kind of very aggressive way of public appearance. Brands we have now Mercedes-Benz Platz, even, you know, like the square, Mercedes-Benz Square. I think this is the end of urbanity. If the square is called by the car brand name. But yeah, these are all the questions for maybe discussion. I think I'm with the time okay. And here I would like that maybe some clarifications are needed, or questions or doubts or comments. I would like to also advertise a bit a book that I was talking about. You can order it online also in a place called Books People's Places, which is a very interesting bookshop focusing on the architecture and urban stuff. And visit our website. It's a bit outdated, but together with the ZCO website somehow gives a good overview. And yeah, and then looking forward to meet some of you in Vilnius when all this situation allowed us, or to, you know, have some live show in at university, or work with your students, or yeah, whatever you propose. And think what is going on with I heard now that you in Vilnius also are preparing the old town for reducing cars or removing cars at all, or something like this. So this will be interesting. Which role then public, what to do with all this space when cars are out? You know, I'm also sometimes afraid how to feed it immediately. Do we need some time, or we can make it in 1-2 years? So these are the old questions. I'm opening now the floor to you, and I'm thankful for your attention, although I don't feel anything anymore.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I hope you were. I was not so fast. Sometimes I get too excited.
No, I think it's good. And now we're open floor for the questions. Eddie? everyone is shy. I just want to come back to the square on Bremerstrasse.
Yes.
As I understood, time was one of the key actors that make this project possible. But I am curious, what did help people activate, local people activate? Did you make any survey research, sociological research in advance in order to know like expectations of locals?
Yeah, actually, what in this particular location, what really drive the whole process was this conflict in between, let's say, unwanted users and the neighbors that also wanted to be part, but somehow they felt, yeah, this is really not a place for me to bring a small child when somebody, sleeping on the bench, so and then by us going there, immediately when they realize somebody is just appearing there that is not from this kind of unwanted group, they just approach to us and start complaining. Hey, do you know that this on the squares? And this become like maybe first 1 month was just meeting people to complain, and then what you have to have a patient to listen. Like this is the first part for architects to not commission somebody to do research, but to listen. And then, of course, then we were just trying to kind of turn this like a rage and anger into some kind of okay, but what will be your and then they say, okay, but nobody asked me anything. I say, okay, let's tomorrow meet at 5, small workshop here. And we never call it workshop. That's also very important. We call it tea and cake, coffee and cake here. And they say, yeah, but who comes? And I say, okay, I comes one artist, comes somebody who can help us build this, comes you, and comes your dog. That's enough, And then they start to chit chat a bit and build some kind of small clans of 3 older ladies, students, and actually the one building that is just a kind of bordering, and the one that looks down to this is one interesting also self-run cooperative. So this helps us a lot because they were already in their minds a bit used to cooperation. They were not just some of the flats, they used to have their own internal. But in this problem, nobody wants to, they were just saying it's outside of our building. They were very good in solving everything in their own house, but they were not feel obliged to do the job of the state. And then when we asked them, yeah, but who is the state? Like you are also state. And then they were just thinking, yes, but no, but, so I think this was all about this political education. And pedagogical tool, which we were not positioning ourselves as somebody who knows everything about this, but trying to be more of a moderator, and I think this was then slowly, different lady that has a flower shop in the front starts to think that, yeah, it's a pity that her garden will never be successful because it's across this junky place. And then we talked to her, and then now she has a really nice garden. Everything changed because of this Korean sculpture. Is now really interesting what's happening. So I cannot tell you in which direction this goes, but at least the authorities recognize that this should be fixed, and from next year the greenery company will increase their how you call it intensity of care, because in Berlin we have like 5 levels of care in a public space. Very hard to explain. So in front of Bundestag, grass has to look in January like whatever green, and in our park, dogs can run without leash, no problem. So yeah, this was a small story, but it's actually much more complicated, of course. Common people, maybe some doubts, maybe some negative comment, like, hey, this all what you're doing this just irrelevant. We should build condominiums, you know.
I like the space, and it could be my yard. It's not my backyard, but my yard.
Can you say it again? I didn't hear you really well.
Now?
Now a bit better. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Something wrong with mine? Maybe.
Yeah, something with the mic.
Okay, now?
A bit better, but I don't know, maybe it's just for me. If others are hearing you well, say something.
No, this voice is actually, it's a bit difficult to hear right now.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll use that time to ask one question. I think it's a bit irrelevant, but if no one is asking, I will ask. You were talking about active citizenship, and you were talking about those imaginary and real tables and metaphorical stuff. And you mentioned that you were reading Hannah Arendt's text, but actually you change the slide so quickly. I didn't really understand if that was the place. Did the place have relationships, or it was with Hannah Arendt, or it was like I don't know, named after her, or what was the idea? Why did you choose to read her text, or was it because of the content?
Yes, the thanks for the question. I probably we're running too fast over this. The artist friend Doit, he's actually one of the kind of, let's say, experts in Hannah Arendt, and both he was trying to find different texts from her different books. They are talking about particular topics, So if the topic is I remember, because I was not on all sessions, but I remember one, for example, it was about labor, in one of her books, she talks about labor. Then he contextualized the round table inside the unemployment agency. We were in unemployment agency in Germany. This is like a particular institution. Or when it's about whatever victims of racism, we were in particular public square. Or when there was about migration, we were in the refugee center. So the topics were found in the texts of Hannah Arendt, put on the table, and then table was sometimes physical, but sometimes we were just sitting in the park, And this kind of reading groups were helping to understand the public, what means the publicly discussing publicly topic with the random people. This was the most interesting part. You don't know who is coming to the reading group. It's not some kind of cozy friends night activity with a glass of wine. It was really, you don't know if people that comes are some kind of reading freaks or experts or just it was very interesting mix at the end. I did not expect it to be so diverse, But yes, and even in one slide I showed it was the Hannah Arendt Straße. It's a street called Hannah Arendt, so they were also there. I don't remember which text they were reading, but yeah, this is what he called the portable polis. The idea of polis he was bringing into different contexts, in which actually reading becomes a bit gets another dimension. When it's contextualized. If you talk about migration and you are in refugee centers and some of the readers are refugees, it's very different than if you read in the bar. So this combination of context and text, and the random group, these three elements were forming the tension, let's say, if I can talk like a more as a dramaturg. Yeah, but thanks for the question. Relevant for any of the projects we were talking about, because actually we were constantly writing this software of the furniture, which was kind of open source software, and allowing others to form it, but not like a participating. I think this is the idea, or I would, what is usually participation, some kind of fake putting colors on some wall. We understood it a bit different. Yeah, and the group did not have any consequences, and only in the head of, they did not have a spatial consequences like the project we were talking, like a previous one. It has only personal change or not, and nobody knows anymore about this project except me, except website of Hacking Urban Furniture. But it was not a, so it's how the invisible means and can become also furniture. Maybe too complicated for after all working day, but yeah, I hope I answer somehow.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you hear me?
A bit better, a bit better. Maybe your cable is just not.
No, I just changed everything. It's still not.
I hear you here. If you say louder, maybe.
Louder, okay. I will try. I just want to ask, what the biggest challenge would you call during this project? Cooperation with people, with authorities, regulations?
Yeah, hard to say. Thanks for the question, and reminder that this was not so easy and beautiful like it looks on the images sometimes. When you fly through the book, it's great how everything can happen. But yeah, beside this is a lot of failures and tryouts. But we incorporate this already in the design. We did not say, hey, there is some goal or impact we want to achieve or a specific legacy of the project. We say, okay, let's go really experimental, and see what's happened. And then really in one project, authorities were a problem. In the other project, community was a bit obstacle. In some project, artist itself was a main problem. Somebody you invite and this person did not get the whole idea. And then it's really painful process, because you cannot change this artist. He's already in the space and working, So this also was in some places. Then sometimes regulation. Sometimes we did some crazy stuff that were really, you can end up in jail for that, because it was, playing with the public security or, some interventions were a bit crossing the border, but the explanation was okay. I mean, the state is also crossing this border every day in our life, and so maybe this was a bit smaller resistance. Yeah, so combination depends on the point. Sometimes also the communication problems. Sometimes also because we have some projects happening outside of Europe in different countries that has a very different, let's say, understanding. Like I remember not conflict but misunderstanding with the Indian colleagues that for them they don't have a word public furniture. That this word doesn't exist in Hindu, and they were like, hey, furniture is everything what is outside of the house till the car hits you. Everything. This is all urban furniture in India. Everything. The guy that moved his portable hairdress salon is also furniture, till somebody who sells drinks, till bench. Everything is actually one big mess, and they were just saying, why you are trying to tell us now from Europe what is furniture with your, squarey mind, and we were, yeah, maybe interesting, because yeah, we attempt to look things through our experiences. Yeah, or the Czech art I was talking in Russia is quite popular. People that lives in such a madness scapes of this Czech art, they love this, and we were like, oh God, how you can live with all these teddy bears, and I show you just one images, but they could be the horror of how this look like from some plastic bottles and like. But people enjoy it because it's better than cars being parked, which they hate the most. Yeah. So yeah, I hope I.
One more question. You mentioned Czech, and I don't really speak Russian. Could you explain what exactly does this word mean?
Czech is this like a maintenance company for the housing compound. Like I don't know even how in English this sounds. It's a company that is in charge of public order in the housing estate. Somebody who is actually kind of
žekas namų valdyba, rusiškai.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that, whatever. But yeah, we have also this, we call them in German something like administration of the building. Yeah. Yeah, and they, in some parts of, let's say, world has a more power, and some of the part of the words they have a really technical, taking care that rubbish bins are in order or something, and some of them really enjoying making dragons out of tires, which is, and then there was some artistic words. In the book we also elaborated, they were playing with this idea, how this Jack art can become art on itself, or the branch of this curator actually created a new branch and say, hey, Jack art is art, it's a kind of new type of pop art, let's say. Yeah, so we also have, I want to say, we have a lot of fun doing this project. I think this is something we always forget. We were laughing a lot, and we were enjoying what we were doing. Although these failures were normal part, but we expect them somehow. But a big amount of unusual situation happened, because if you build a stage that it's powered by the car that is, you never know what's going to happen, and this was exciting, because yeah. And then the Ordnungsamt, which is our, let's say, the communal police, they also, when they came, they did not, they were just like this. Okay, because they didn't know, we were not referring to any paragraph, like structure over the public, but cars are passing, it's okay. We were not putting anything in danger. Then this whole scaffolding was with technical kind of, so they didn't know, like, this is so weird, this should not be here, but like according to which paragraph we should kick them out, So and this was really interesting, this debate of like where are the holes in our regulatory system also, So I think this opens a lot of questions and inspire me also that in the future when we do some public art to understand also where are the borders of being crazy and being experimental, and where is the provocation and where is the opener, because I think when you see something like this, it's a lot of questions popping up, and this is for us the main, like to create the images of possible, nothing more. And even if it's temporal, like I think this in people's brain, we are working now cognitive, like advertising companies, cognitive hacks also. And I think this many people we kind of met during the project and that we didn't know, actually just now asking, hey, when project is continuing? We were saying, hey, but this and this project is continuation of this. Okay, super. Can I also, so it becomes some kind of also knowledge place. And I'm just thinking even to make some kind of capacity building workshops in the future once per 4 months and say, okay, come, who is interesting to hack something in its own courtyard, come here, let's talk together. Yeah.
I'm curious if you succeeded to build like a network of artists, citizens and politicians, like, for future projects.
Yes, this was I think the main good question or a reminder. I think this was the main legacy of the project, that we now, for example, in Autor, like we usually have a relation with the cultural authorities, sometimes with planning as an institution, and now through this kind of project, particularly to this one, I know a couple of people in the, let's say, public greenery company that I can talk to, and they understand us. They say, you are all crazy, but at least, you will be sometimes also shocked that there is also normal people in the public authorities. I want to say, not normal, but the ones that understand totally. And then, having a telephone of this person or direct email, it really helps. This is one side. The other, in terms of community, this is without this, we won't be able to come back to the same places. Project for us gives just the possibility to, it's sort of lunch together somehow, and if you have a collective experience, and it has a base for a future cooperation. So yes, we have in a different corners, different communities, but a lot of projects I was showing were happening around. We made this kind of collaboration around our building. So some people we already know, but this network is there. It's not some kind of, let's say, formalized, or the network that has some, name. But for example, this reunion group I was telling you that was formed to deal with this space. That deals with the space in between sa.lt and where these Korean statues. There's one square there I did not show. This group is actually formed from the working together, and group is consisting of local 2 NGOs, 1 architectural office, 1 bar, flower shop, housing cooperative, cultural institution, and 1 mechanical guy. So it's very diverse. Like this is really politics from the bottom. And now we have interest, like we are interest group. That's called in German Arbeitsgruppe, and we can come into the planning process. We are interest group that we want to engage for reconstruction of the square, and and we are all professionals also. We have a lawyer, we have a social worker, architect. So there is some kind of possibility. Of course, the politics to come to the upper parts is still complicated, but at least some possibilities is there. I would say.
Did you present your results to the authority of Berlin?
Yes. I mean, the last discussion, the closing, how you call it, finissage of the exhibition was the discussion with authorities. So they came, and it's really interesting, from different departments. And this, yes, this is recorded as a sound, and I would like to then, in one moment, to make some kind of podcast out of this, and to invite them again and to remind them what they said in this moment. So I'm waiting for a good moment to publish this. Yes, this was and then everybody who was involved in project on that or that way, even giving permission for our VIP box. This lady get the book, and she was like, okay, oh fuck, I gave permission for this. What is this? So everybody gets also the result and some kind of small note and thank you for having patience, for being patient with us. We know that we bother, but also all international. It was interesting because I present also book in different cities around Europe and send also to some colleagues, and there's a good resonance, and people start to, especially the students of architecture or design, starts to use this as a book for the or as a topic for some kind of seminar works, like let's create a design of the furniture in provincial city in Scotland, why not? So I think it inspires students. I hope also your students, maybe somebody starts to think about doing this for a diploma work at university, So yes, this is also one eco. So there's many these things, but I never wanted to, it's still not possible to measure this in any form. I just always hear some, good vibes, and makes us also, there's some only satisfaction. We have the so-called cultural capital, since there is no money in culture, so it's good to be,
Yes. Yeah, I see. Okay. So maybe people would like to
audience
ask?
chance for last question. Chance for a last question before this. Yeah, I understand everybody all day online now.
Yeah, it
tired.
Tough time for us all.
Tough time.
But I hope, yes, you will continue with this and will initiate more projects.
Yeah, of course.
I have a question.
Yes, question.
Okay.
Yes, Victoria, you are the winner. Victoria, of course, winner of the night. Tell us.
I want to provoke a bit because your story reminded me of a podcast. It was on a topic of DIY urbanism. And they were talking how people, not architects, not designers, but also them are initiating this project. And sometimes these projects are a bit selfish. For instance, when on your story there was benches, and then people took out the wooden parts for homeless not to sit there or something. And in that podcast, it was said that one guy was so tired of rubbish. Of pile of rubbish near the bus station in front of his windows, and he decided to take the bus stop sign at all, because he was asking the municipality many times to please, can you take care of the trash, and they said, and they just ignored it. And then he decided just to put out the sign of a bus stop. What do you think of this DIY urbanism? Is it better? It's selfish, but is it better to have nothing, or in a bad way?
Yeah, that's you're opening quite big topic, and yeah, I think that's I would say, easiest way. Yeah, something disturbs me, the best will be to remove the whole bus station. Like to move the bus station 300 meters. And say it's not or take the rubbish bin and move somewhere else. This would be the human is like this. But I would say if you look at more holistic, from the urbanist point of view, the whole city development is based on the management of the conflicts. Everywhere around us is a conflict. Is a conflict in between car drivers and bus, in between bus driver and bicycle, in between loud bar and housing. And we are in the urban planning. We are constantly managing the conflicts, and conflicts around urban furniture and occupation of it, or unwanted occupation and wanted, is constant process. And I think we have a plurality of opinions, and we are in the urban arena, and everything what we do in a public space is very, very different than, if you are bored of this, you can always build a house in the woods and live differently, or you can move from the dirty Berlin and there's nice, cozy, German, boring small cities. Like it's, there is, at least what I want to say is we should have a plurality of ideas, but also plurality of possibilities, and to decide, okay, this I'm not going to participate, or this I'm going to contest, this I'm going to fight for. So I think it's it's like this, and then we are, if we were all think the same and be the same, I think the world will be just boring. I really enjoy sometimes the friction of ideas in public space. Yeah, of course I don't like this in museum, but yeah, that's my kind of answer to this. Selfish. Yeah, we are selfish. We are also selfish tonight because we have a good internet, and 2/3 of the planet doesn't have internet at all. So we can also say, it's easy for us to get educated because we can afford to have a good internet. So if you start to think like this, you will end up in a totally crazy world of understanding your own privileges that we have. But good question.
Victoria's story reminded me of the bus stop that used to be next to my high school. So the municipality decided that they want to remove the bus stop. So all the students started stealing the signs from the buses. It was like long before, even before I was studying at high school. So there were not a lot of LED electronic signs on the buses. So we just stole all the signs of the bus, like 45th bus. And we would steal all the signs, and like that we managed to conquer and get the bus stop back. So now next to the high school there is a bus stop. So
Yes. And, and in the future, I was looking into some plans of Je sais de quoi, this company. Now the bus stop is fully shopping experience. You come, you have a kind of VLAN, you have a direct, not even QR code, in your telephone immediately appears what you are buying in this bubble. And you are ordering, and Amazon delivers this faster than you come back home. So the bus stop, put shopping
mall.
Shopping mall experience and waiting for bus experience in one. Like this condensation of urban functions. This is a very interesting situation. And maybe in the future we will have bus stops out of magnetic fields, like we won't be able even to see it. You just come somewhere and they say, okay, it's, there is a, strong radiation, the rain cannot pass through, and your chip will connect to the schedule you just see the schedule in front of your Google device, like so. And I'm not joking, we are, there in 10 years, in 5 years, maybe tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So that's why we need to contest this, to say, okay, maybe there's no buses in the future. Maybe we are all flying, navigating individually with some engine we have on the back of our, body. So that's interesting topic, and I really enjoy researching it because it's constantly changing. It's not like art history of Renaissance. You have to learn the solid stuff, and that's true forever. But urban furniture is constantly changing. But bus station is surviving. Bench, bus stop, and toilet will survive all transitions. I hope. Yeah, and then check a bit, as my recommendation, check a bit how is in Vilnius. Maybe this, what we talked tonight, a bit provoke you to think how the bus stations are formed. I like in Vilnius this, when you turn the schedule around, this analog, this is fantastic. For example, it's a heritage. You should not give away this old, they should put this in museums, and maybe in 10 years kids will come to museum in Vilnius to a bit play with the schedule of the bus. Yeah, or also this conflict around marshutkas and this all stuff. Very interesting. Good people. I think with the time we are slowly losing concentration, and people.
Yes.
They are going to dinner. All good. It was my pleasure, and maybe last word to Aida to close this session.
Thank you, Miodrag. And slogan, let's imagine the future and experiment with today. And hoping to meet you next year, and in Vilnius as well. We'll make some projects together.
Yes.
And Agnes writing to. Thanks. Thanks.
Yes. I'm sending you all digital hearts from me also. Yes. Good. Hope to see you then in Vilnius in some place. Good. Ciao. Ačiū.
Ačiū Jums visiems ir tada tikrai sekite mus. Mes organizuojam jau kitų metų, planuojame ciklą apie aplinkos suvokimą. Tikiuosi, jis Jums patiks. Ir linkiu gero likusio vakaro ir kitų susitikimų. Ačiū.
Ačiū viso.
Ačiū.